Okay. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yes,
Testing 1,
talk
2,
it.
3.
Talk into
1,
it.
2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
You got it? Good?
Okay, go for it.
All right. Call the meeting
Thank
back to
you.
order, and we're going to jump back to the beginning of our agenda. And first thing I want to do, even though we've already conducted a little bit of business, is I want to welcome our new council person, Rick Collins. Rick Collins is in District 1, which is the east side of the county and middle center of the county through Jackson Township. So he is the replacement for Donna King, who did 10 years on council, I believe. She was actually caucused in when one of our former council people passed away, and then she served 2 terms. So very thankful for the service that she gave us. And Rick, we welcome you, and with tough issues right to start with. Why not? That's right. All right. Next is our reorganization. And we're going to start with President of the Council, if we can have nominations for that.
I nominate Dave Yard.
Can I decline?
Yes, you can.
I respectfully decline.
Any other nominations? Everybody around here always jumps in right away, you know.
I nominate Rick Ring.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, can I have a motion to close the nominations for president? Then move to close the nominations. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Councilman Kraft. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Okay. Voting for president of the council. All those in favor of the nomination signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. Been passed 4-1, 5-1. All right, whatever that number is, okay. Next, moving on to vice president. I have a nomination for vice president.
I nominate Bill Van Wy.
Bill Van Wy's been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
I'll nominate Dave Yard.
All right, first of all, we have a motion and a second to nominate Bill Van Wy. Now we have a motion to nominate Dave Yard. Does anybody want to second that nomination?
Amy and Amy.
So Bob, motion for
Bill,
Yard seconded,
right,
then
nominated Dave Yard,
And Amy seconded.
and Amy seconded it. All right, so first of all, I have a motion to close the nominations.
I'll make that motion.
And moved by Councilwoman Prosser to close the nominations. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Collins. All those in favor of closing the nomination signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Okay. Mm-hmm. Dave declined.
Rick nominated you.
No. President. She's going back. Yeah.
So, and
Amy.
okay.
Okay. Now, did we get a vote on closing the nominations for vice president? Okay, let's do, all those in favor of Bill Van Wy as vice president signify, well, how do we do this? Let's do this by
I would
roll
like to know
call.
if he's willing to serve, because I'm going to change my vote.
Okay. All right. I think probably the best way to do this is probably by roll call.
And name, and we say the name.
We just want to keep you on your toes, Susan.
David Yard. Even though can I do that since I nominated Bill? I didn't know he was going to be up, so. Okay.
Ken?
Collins,
David Yard.
David Yard.
Dave,
You said you would serve. You cracked the door open, buddy. We're running through it.
Dave Yard.
Ring.
Dave Yard.
Oh, Bill's gonna be excited.
He will be excited.
And Dave Yard is the new vice president by a vote of 5-1.
Bill will buy you lunch. I guarantee.
Yeah, he would love that. That just means I'm going to visit you a lot more than I already do, Dave. All right, next, we have our appointment of our council. And I have a motion for designating our council.
I'll second that.
And moved by Councilman Dembski and a second by Councilman Kraft to have Don Stuckey as our counsel for the next year. Any discussion?
Move to close the nomination.
And move to close the nominations. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Councilman Collins. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of closing the nomination signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Don, you're with us another year.
We got to vote on him.
Oh,
We just close the nomination.
excuse me. Yeah, I guess, you're right. All right, all those in favor of Don Stuckey signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same, that motion's carried. Now you're with us for another year. All right.
That's a gamble.
All right, that brings us down to council discussion on the economic revitalization area for the Sculpin and Light Source BP solar projects. The issue here is that whether or not we ask the attorney to prepare the documents giving tax abatement to these two projects. Before we get into that, we've had two people request time to speak, and I'm going to give each one of them 5 minutes. Sarah, and if you're representing the Sculpin project, I'll let you go first. And then after your 5 minutes will be Andrew Provines. So, please make sure that your mic is on.
Is it on, Susan?
Is it blue? Is it,
Yes.
Yes, you're good.
Great. All right. Thank you for having us today. My name is Sarah Massara. I'm a project developer with EDF Renewables, here representing the Sculpin Solar project. And just to keep to time, I'm going to keep things to the point, but I'm here for questions afterwards if needed. EDF Renewables is an American company. Sculpin Solar is an American company. EDF Renewables develops, owns, and operates renewable assets from the US, Canada, and Mexico. And we've been in operation and in business since 1985. Sculpin Solar brings a unique investment to DeKalb County, both in terms of the dollars invested, as well as the length of that investment. And before you today, the council has the opportunity, today and in future meetings, the council has the opportunity to design, control, and ultimately implement the financial framework that's best for DeKalb County from a fiduciary perspective as a result of this investment. So today we're asking and supporting the council in a decision to begin the legislative process necessary, as Rick said, to bring forward the tax abatement application for full consideration. So today where we are is we're asking the council to, again, to to direct their representing attorney, representing council, to draft a preliminary resolution to establish an economic revitalization area. And just for the benefit of the other folks in the room here, following that vote and that motion, there would be another public meeting to vote on the approval of that preliminary economic revitalization area. Following that, there would be an additional public meeting and public hearing to confirm that, so the confirmatory economic revitalization area, right, to actually confirm that resolution, and then to approve or deny the tax abatement application. So as you can see, we're at the very beginning of this process, right? And we have a ways to go. So today we're asking the council to begin that process so that we can continue to bring good and full information to this body in order for council to make an informed decision. Just a few notes on what an economic revitalization area is, what it does. Again, for time, I'm just going to hit a few points here. Scope and Solar meets the statutory definition to establish an economic revitalization through the Indiana Administrative Code. The area of real property included in the ERA for Scope and Solar has experienced other factors which have impaired values due in part to the statutory assessment of the agricultural base rate that the underlying land is taxed at. Additionally, the ERA definition includes area that is undesirable for normal development due in part to a lack of public and private utilities servicing the real property, necessary road improvements, and other essential upgrades needed to attract industrial, commercial, or residential subdivision development. And I'll leave the council with just a few notes here, but I really want to hit on the fact that approving an ERA does not obligate the council to vote in favor of tax abatement. What it does is it allows us to, again, bring forward the tax abatement application for full consideration. Like I said, today's the first step in many to really see that process through, and ultimately for DeKalb County to again decide what that financial framework looks like as a result of Scope and Solar coming before this committee. I think I have a few more minutes, so I'll say real quick just on the tax abatement piece. While we're not there yet, I do just want to leave a few notes with the county, assuming that we get to that point right down the road here in a few meetings. So Scope and Solar is applying for a 10-year, 100% tax abatement on improvements to real and personal property. We went through the tax abatement committee, and they have brought forward to the larger council, or will bring forward when we get to that point, a recommendation for the 10-year period. The underlying taxes on the real property are not abatable. Those are paid 100% by Scope and Solar on day one of the project being in operation. What we are asking for that 10-year period abatement on is the improvements to the real and personal property. And I'll also note that for the real property taxes that are not abatable, the underlying taxes increase by a factor of 9 once the solar project is installed. So it goes up from the currently assessed ag base rate, which is $1,500 an acre, up to, I believe it's $13,500 per acre, as defined again by the state of Indiana. And I'll leave the council with this. I mentioned that solar brings a unique investment to DeKalb County, right? In terms of the dollars at play, in terms of the length of the investment. We appreciate the council's consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew?
I brought copies. I did email them to everybody. I just want to make sure you guys got them. And they didn't go into your spam. Andrew Provines, 3920 County Road 75. So I brought that handout for you guys. I did email it to everybody. I don't know if it got to you because of the spam. I have included some other materials in there comparatively to what I actually put in the email. I apologies, but it came to me recently. So it's every time I come up here, and I come up here a lot, and I apologize for that. I know many of you, I probably frustrate the hell out of you, and I'm sorry. I'm here most every time you guys are here. I'm here every week at the commissioners' meetings because I care about the county and I'm trying to protect the county, and I want you guys to, at least thoughtful consideration for that. As more and more people kind of join with us and go through this, and we're finding that some are starting to listen, and that's a question we always kind of ask if people are listening, if people are actually listening. So I'm not going to go against what was just said. I have some other topics I want to talk about, and it's what's included inside of here. So I'm glad you brought up the tax abatement meeting, the first tax abatement meeting. I have questions about the first tax abatement meeting. When we came into that tax abatement meeting, we asked if there was information known by the council for that meeting, the tax abatement stuff. And it was told to us that no information was known, that you guys had just got the information. So I have emails. I have county emails because it was a public access request. And I can tell that the EDF project went in on 10/21. We asked if information was known on November 8th. We also asked if information was known on November 15th. What we were told was no. But 5 emails from 10/21 to 10/31 were sent out that landed directly in Rick's inbox. 23 emails from 11/1 to 11/10, and there were 5 responses in line from Mr. Ring in those emails. It was told to us that none of this information was known when we asked. That doesn't seem very transparent. That's why we have issues, and that's why we struggle, and we keep pushing for more and more information. I want the council to realize we're not here to hurt anyone. We're here to help the county. We're here to protect the county. We're here to protect ourselves as citizens of the county. I want to go further because I also have, and I have a question in general. So I have an email that says a report was asked for my property from one of the commissioners, Mr. Watson. A report on my property, not a report of how solar will affect my property, but a report of my property where it shows that my setbacks are wrong. And basically here, his setbacks are wrong. This doesn't align with what he gave us when he built his house, which we will definitely have to ask the mayor of Auburn why my setbacks are not proper. But why am I, it feels like I'm being targeted a little bit. Throughout all these emails, my name is strewn across, things are said about me, jokes are made, which actually, they're actually pretty funny. They're entertaining. I enjoyed them. But it feels a little bit like retaliation because it wasn't, hey, how's solar going to affect this guy? It was, give me a report on his property, and here's things that are wrong. So, before we continue on abatements, before we walk into the new year, let's dance into the new year. Let's ensure that 48,000 people in this county are accounted for, their protections are upheld, and we're not making accommodations for companies coming in from the outside and for less than 1% of the population to benefit. So, that's all I have.
Susan, I want a copy of the supposed things that hit my email.
Okay.
I'm not,
I have.
not that,
Oh, yes, perfect.
they may very well have hit my email. I don't remember responding to any of it.
Okay.
Let me look and see what's there.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. That being said, those are the two people that had asked to
Every
speak.
time.
So with that, is there any discussion of the council? If not, I'll entertain a
I
motion.
am concerned about a comment, just if a citizen is being targeted by a commissioner, I guess I'm interested in learning more about that. That sounds ominous, I guess.
I think you can work it out to sit down and talk to Mike and see if that,
That email is in the back.
Okay, thank you.
the,
And it sounds like that there was, if there were emails that went back and forth amongst council members, I hope that we were all included in those.
That copy's also in there. It was initiated
Okay.
by Anton King, but that copy's in there.
Okay. I hope we were all included. I would hate to for some of us to be left out of those discussions. So I'll look into that.
Any other discussion? And I will entertain a motion as to whether or not we send these two projects to our attorney to prepare the documents to declare the area an economic revitalization area.
I'm not opposed to starting the process so we can make a vote yes or no on the revitalization. So this would be just a motion to get him to draw it up, and then we can vote it down or vote it up.
Exactly.
Either way. Because there's a lot of questions that need to be answered before I can vote yes or no on that, especially in light of testimony here today. So, but I'm not opposed to going ahead, starting that process so we have the opportunity to say no to or yes to the actual our ERA.
ERA.
All right, so that is a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to go ahead and
I have a
have
motion
Don.
that we ask the
process.
attorney to draw up the paperwork to make these two areas designated as an ERA. Do I have a second? One more time. Do I have a second? Sorry, the motion dies for a lack of a second. So we'll move on. All right.
I'm not seeing the email from Anton that was to all of us.
I'm sorry, but
okay, sorry.
have that discussion after the meeting.
Okay, I will.
Time for comment is over. So, moving on. Next item of business is the salary and wage ordinance. (2023) Salary and Hourly Wage Ordinance Amendment, DeKalb County Council, Ordinance 2023-OCC-1. The DeKalb County Council hereby establishes the following salary and hourly wage ordinance to become effective for pay period 12/18/22 to 12/31/2022. 1/13/20, paid on 1/13/2023 through pay period 12/3/2023 to 12/16/2023, paid on 12/29/2023. It is further ordained that all salaries and wages shall be paid biweekly, 26 pays. It is further ordained that any employee hired after the date of this ordinance will have one pay period withheld for audit purposes. It is further ordained that compensation of employees and elected officials may include, but is not limited to, a stipend, health insurance, health savings accounts, match, professional certifications, educational advancements, and per diems, regardless of the source of funds for which the money is paid. It is further ordained that the raises set forth in this ordinance are contingent on employment evaluations from the elected official or department head and submitted to Human Resources prior to the year ending 12/31/2022. It is further ordained that longevity pay has been established to begin at year 5, increasing every 5 years until 20 years, when the yearly amount remains the same and will be funded by the general fund, as the highway, health, central communications funds may not have the funds to cover 5 through 9 years, $400, 10 to 14 years, $800, 15 to 19 years, $1,200, 20 plus years, $1,600, and will be paid on the first check of December each year. There will not be any proration of longevity pay. Wherefore it be ordained this 10th day of January 2023 and retroactive to January 1st, 2023, that the employee will be paid within the range represented from the federal minimum wage up to and not to exceed the maximum dollar amount set forth on this ordinance unless amended. I move that we adopt ordinance 2023, salary and hourly wage ordinance amendment, ordinance 2023-OCC-1 on first reading. Can I have, no, I need a motion first, though. I'm just a reader.
I'll make the motion.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Yard. Discussion.
Had this discussion, I apologize, if the person has to be here through the year to get this, they resign the day before or something like that, they're not eligible for that then, is that correct?
That is correct, and that's why it's been amended to include the prorated verbiage in here.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. I have a motion, I have a second. Comment from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor of this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same.
Aye.
And motion passes 5-1.
Unfortunately, that included the longevity pay, which I'm very much against, so I feel like I have to vote no, although I do feel like there are lots of county employees who deserve raises. Unfortunately, it's all combined into one ordinance, so I have reason for my vote.
All right, so I need a motion to suspend the rules so that we can read this on second and third readings. Yes? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And that's why we made mention in here of the fact that some of the specific funds like highway and central communications might not be able to handle that. So that would. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Been moved by Councilman Yard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Kraft. Discussion? All those in favor of suspending the rules and reading this by title only on second and third reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are you voting yes?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm not
All right,
voting
it's
anyway.
been, and that passes 6-0. So, 2023 Salary and Hourly Wage Ordinance Amendment, DeKalb County Council, ordinance number 2023-OCC-1. Can I have a motion to approve this ordinance on second and third readings?
I'll make a motion.
Been moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Dembski. Discussion? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor of passing this on second and third reading signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same.
Aye.
That motion is carried 5-1. And is there a signature section to this? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Turn it over backwards.
I used my cell phone. Finally got in, I used my cell phone. I can't get Wi-Fi at all from AES.
All right, next item on the agenda is the receipt of the July through December 2022 Sheriff's Commissary Report. and I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of this report.
I make a motion that we acknowledge receipt.
And moved by Councilman Kraft. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Councilman Collins. Discussion? Comment from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor of acknowledging the receipt of this report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Next item on here is acknowledgement of the receipt of the 2022 Northeastern Center Report. I have a motion to accept the receipt of that report. Then moved by Councilwoman Dembski. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilwoman Prosser. Now, before we take a vote on this, I will tell you that I met with Steve Howell last Thursday for about an hour and a half to discuss this report. Number of things have happened over the last 9-10 years. Many of our community mental health centers were not submitting their reports as required by the state law to the council or to the commissioners. That was changed a couple of years ago when we started asking for it, and we did get it. And it has been brought up again that there is an issue throughout the state of Indiana, actually, on the community mental health centers, that most councils and sometimes the commissioners are very frustrated with the fact that we are mandated to pay a fixed amount to the community mental health centers without any input or availability of changing that amount. That amount is predetermined by the state, and we just have to pay it. So that has been an issue for a number of years, but it's coming back up again this year with the legislature. One of the issues that I have with this, and I discussed it with the head of the County Commissioners Association, their desire is they want choice. They want to be able to choose who is their provider. And right now, it's very, very difficult for that to change. So that's one of the issues that they have. The issue that I have is the fact that people don't know what they expect from the community mental health center. There's no list of these are the items that we want, or this is the items that we're paying for. It's just not very clear. And the other issue is that there's no relationship or communication between the Northeast Center, in our case. It's true of all the different community mental health centers. But there's no communication between that group and the commissioners and that group and the council. So, question to you. When they submit this report, generally we get it, we read it, okay, that's really nice, but what's it mean? You know, what are we getting what we expect? So I've asked Steve if we were to request him to come over and answer questions about the report, would he do that? And he is willing to make that, to do that. And I believe he actually has a little bit more relationship with people in our county than maybe some of the other ones, because he's actually on our JRAC board, so he does meet with the judges and with community corrections and whatnot. So he does have a relationship, but this would have him come and just talk to us about the report, what services they're offering to DeKalb County, and maybe we can give them an expectation of what we would like to see. So if that's, if everybody is agreeable to that, I'll put him on the schedule for the February meeting.
I think that's a great idea, because it would be nice to inquire, you know, are the funds that we're giving them just a subsidy? Is they're actually paying, or is everybody that's going there getting paid by insurance? Or is some of the money we're giving helping indigent that can't pay for the services to get the services? I mean, what, where's that money going?
And it's it's better to have him explain it to us than to me give you the third-party version of what he told me when I met with him last week. It is, initially, when we dealt with this about 6, 7 years ago, we were told, and from a state perspective, we were told that this money was going in to be our Medicaid match so that they could continue to receive federal Medicaid money. That is probably not the case anymore. It is going into more or less a general fund, and it's applied across the board to all of their expenses. So that just opens up the question of what are we getting for this?
Do you happen to know if the opioid money that's coming through the JRAC committee can be used to pay what we pay to Northeast Center, or does it have to be preventative medicine, preventative anything?
That I do not know. That I do not know.
Because there's a
All I
lot of
can
money
tell you
coming
about
for 10 years.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you about the money that we are paying them, and this is one of the big objections that the county councils have, is the fact that even when we get tax cap reductions in our budget, we cannot apply those same tax cap reductions to that money going to for the mental health centers. It's that amount of money, no matter how much money the county is getting.
State mandated.
State mandated. And there's at least one county that, and this actually happened a couple of years ago, new CEO comes into their community mental health center, realizes that the county was not paying their full share every year, so they actually went back 10 years and forced that county to pay up everything that they had been shorted in the previous 10 years. So now that's never been us. We've never been in that position, but it has happened in other places.
But who would be the one who would look into that JRAC money? Just because I know the money's coming
But we
any
can
day
ask
now.
that. We can ask that.
Yeah, and it would be great if we were able to apply some of that money
I'd have to, need to read the grant.
towards that. I know the committee has to decide how it's spent, but maybe that could be our suggestion, if it's possible to spend it that way. It may be for prevention only. Right. Have we received ours yet? I know that some counties have and some cities have.
Well, there is a push right now to combine money.
I think we have part of
And-
it.
Because some communities will only get $1,000 or $500, so there's an effort right now to combine everybody within a county and put all the money into one bucket. All right, any other discussion on that? I will ask Steve to come to our next meeting so that we can ask those questions, so please take a look at that report and be ready to ask him questions. It might be, hopefully it's not our only opportunity. Hopefully he does this on a yearly basis when he brings this report in. But, and you will notice, this is another thing I ask, we're getting the report in December, but the report is actually for their fiscal year. So the report is for issues between July 1 through June 30th, but the report's not due until December. So you're actually looking at something that's 6 months old by the time we get it as far as information. So, all right, we have a motion, we have a second. Any other discussion?
If you're looking at your fund report, funds 1237 and 1238 are the opioid restricted and unrestricted. We have our first year.
Okay.
105,000.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the report from the Northeast Center signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion's carried. All right, that brings us down to council discussion. One of the issues that's come up, actually has been brought up at some of our statewide meetings, is establishing the rules of procedure for the council and for the commissioners. And we, you know, the commissioners can do what they want to do, but we operate, and actually Councilwoman Prosser and Councilman Collins and I were discussing this earlier today. We operate under a lot of procedure that Lord knows when it started or how it was established or why it continues. So, you know, the official is that the newest councilman makes the recommendation to adjourn. The next in line makes the second. When that started, who knows? Do we run the meetings by Robert's Rules of Order or some other procedure? And I've been to a couple of meetings with the county association where we've brought in old-time or long-time council presidents to talk about this. The National Association of Counties is talking about this. And right now, if the general public has a question as to what are the rules of procedure, they can't find them anywhere, because I doubt if any of us can find them anywhere. So I think what we need to do is we need to establish under what rules do we operate. And then these things need to get online, which brings us to one of the projects that we budgeted for the auditor's office for this year. We've tried to do as much in making our whole system transparent as we can. We've already funded we do live streaming now. The meetings are online for perpetuity, so that people can go in and review those. I know that Don Stuckey has brought up in the past that, old ordinances, where do we find them? How do we find them? They're in a binder, they're in a book, but they're not online as many of the other counties and cities have online. We did authorize Susan to put the ordinances online, and I don't know where are we at with that project right now?
I just have to tell them to show up.
Okay, so you've already chosen a vendor, and okay, so again, we will try to be as transparent as we possibly can. We're moving in that direction, but the one thing we haven't done is decide, do we operate by Robert's Rules of Order? Now, it's been brought up, and I questioned the commissioners during a meeting because I didn't know. What is the process? Who's allowed to make a motion? Who's, who's to be acknowledged? Who's leading the meetings? Everything. I was totally unaware, and it was actually quite embarrassing, not because I've been called out in the newspaper about that, but because either that day or the day after, the middle school FFA group in DeKalb County was winning a parliamentary procedure contest and in what they do. So I think we ought to be at least as good as our middle schoolers here. So I would like to establish where we're at, or how we conduct these meetings. Do we conduct them by Robert's Rules of Order or not? And Don, I gave you my book, which I have always carried with me since I was on the Auburn City Council, more to combat one of my fellow councilmen at the city council than anything else. But I used to have it in the desk drawer over here until I got booted off that seat by Jim McCanna. But NACO, the National Association of Counties, has put out a little brochure on the conduct of meetings. And I would like to adopt that article from NACO as our rules of procedure. We can get them online. I've asked Susan to provide us all with the brochure so that we all have it.
Is that in our packet today?
No,
No, not yet.
I have to get them.
It's under some of the stuff that Don's got. I gave it to Don to look at.
So you're not asking them to do anything today?
We could, but it probably ought to have we ought to have the back packet before we actually adopt them.
And are we adopting this in
And
ordinance?
we've kind of always operated that way, but again, nobody really knew the actual process.
And you want it set out in an ordinance so we have it, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I have prepared a list that, assuming it's posted 48 hours in advance, and copies are available for attendees of the meeting. So they can have access to a copy before during the meeting. Yes, the other thing is, you often have several. I misunderstand, that was by design. The other thing is, when you have this grouping of, especially a grouping of approvals to the same department, they got different funds and so forth, it seems to me, and you've done this to some degree, but that the chair has the authority to accept a motion on all of them unless there is an objection made by one council person, then they has to read them separately. So, you know what I'm talking, you have like, the grants especially, you got like 7 things from community corrections, and we're reading all the funds separately. You've got it right in front of you. Seems to me that unless there's an objection by one council person, they ought to be read together and approved together. So that's the 2 things I come up with.
I want to concur with you, Don, because years ago in the council, that's the way it was. The ordinances were never read. They were just read by title only. And it was the same way with the items there, as you mentioned, they were, if somebody had a specific objection on one item, then it was brought out. If we go to a parliamentary procedure like this, I think it's a great idea. Will we have somebody that'll be a rules chairman or a parliamentary that will say.
I agree.
Okay.
I don't have any more knowledge than anybody else, but.
Well, you'll have the brochure right
I'll
along
be
with the
able to
rest
look at
of
the
us.
book, I'll review the book and be prepared, so.
And I agree that if we do this, that is necessary.
Too tired to.
You're the neutral party.
All right, so we're gonna leave it at this then. We will get a copy of this brochure for everyone, and we will have this on the agenda for our next meeting, what is the second Tuesday of?
Valentine's Day.
Okay, we'll have it the 14th.
It's the only meeting I'll remember.
So it's only love that day, right?
That's right.
Okay.
How do you make a motion? What motions?
Let's see, we already did that. All right, the only other thing I have for discussion is the fact that we do have a tax abatement committee meeting scheduled for 10:30 on Thursday this week, and the project is for the Irish Dairies biogas facility. So, and that's in the Butler, Wilmington Township area. And in this particular case, we are competing with Ohio for this project. So, does anybody else have anything that they would like to discuss?
I just want to make a comment. After Mr. Provines spoke on the email from Anton that was distributed, the email went to the Tax Abatement Committee because it was to establish our meeting for EDF Renewables and the Zoom link. It wasn't information on the project. We didn't have information on the project until that day. I just kind of wanted to clarify that because I thought, what email came? And it was between Susan and all of us to get our Zoom link set up. I believe for their attorney to join in. There wasn't information on the project because we did it actually in the application meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that.
I would like to clarify that I can send you the email. It's in Rick Ring's inbox. Here's the way before this. So.
Well, Andrew, until I look at it, it very well may have been in my inbox. I don't remember.
I was clarifying just this one here.
Clarified it. You just said you didn't have the tax. You did in the email. Maybe not you. It was in Rick Ring.
Oh, I was gonna say we didn't have any of the application info.
This email was not, did not have.
Okay.
There was information in the end.
Okay.
All right. And what I want to look
Okay.
at is to see if I got it and responded to it, then I will admit my error. But there are a lot of things that hit my inbox that I get more than 50 emails a day. There are a lot of things that I get that I don't read for weeks.
So you responded in line to an entire tax abatement email string, just not the other string right there at the same time that you responded 15, 20, 30. This string you just ignored that had all the tax abatement information.
In light of the fact that the issue's already been decided, can we move on?
Thank you, John. All right, is there anything else to come before the council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And moved by Councilman Collins for the first time that we adjourn. Is there a second?
And I will second.
And a second by Councilwoman Prosser. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. That motion is carried. Thank you all very much.
You neglected already.
Out of habit, I almost said second. Well, no, I just.
All right, Mr.
I didn't.
Fun tradition.
Yes.
Hey, how about
Well,
that?
how are you?
I asked him if I could.
I just wanted to leave it with a friendly copy.